Thank you for joining us on Black Investments Matter. I'm Antoine Anderson, and we're going to be talking about the push, or actually the dismissal, of the case for reparations for the survivors of the Tulsa Race Riot and the Race Massacre. In addition, I want you to take a listen to some comments uttered by Ryan Walters. He's the superintendent of education out there in the state of Oklahoma. And here's what he had to say about the topic and as it relates to critical race theory. Um, he says he was misquoted, but you take a listen. Tell me what you think.
Thank you for the question. Now, I want to be clear. When we wrote, and we've got some of the legislators here, I appreciate Representative Connolly being here in the room that helped develop HB 1775, which is in essence the critical race theory bill. One of the things that we did essentially at the beginning is we wrote at the very beginning, all Oklahoma standards have to be taught. This is not an end around to say we're not going to teach the Tulsa Race Massacre. That is absolutely not only not the intention, it was verbatim in the bill to say all of these standards have to be taught. I believe our kids have to know all of our history. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Folks, I believe this is absolutely the greatest country in the history of the world. I don't think there's any doubt about it. That doesn't mean there weren't mistakes made. That doesn't mean that we didn't live up to our principles. The only way our kids have the ability to learn from history and make this country continue to be the best country is to understand those times we fell short, a very clear, a very direct understanding of those events. I will always support that. Our kids should know that about the Tulsa Race Massacre. They absolutely should. There are standards around it. I'm continuing to work to develop even more robust curriculum around these events, and I don't want to hide any part of history. It all needs to be right there, very plain, very direct, so that we can learn from it. So I think it's very important.
Follow up?
Yes, sir. Sure. Yes, sir. Thank you.
How does the Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't address that part. I would never tell a kid that because of your race, because of your color of your skin, or your gender, or anything like that, you are less of a person or are inherently racist. That doesn't mean you don't judge the actions of individuals. Oh, you can absolutely. Historically, you should. This was right. This was wrong. They did this for this reason. But to say it was inherent in that because of their skin is where I say that is critical race theory. You're saying that a race defines a person. I reject that. So I would say you be judgmental of the issue, of the action, of the content, of the character of the individual. Absolutely. But let's not tie it to the skin color and say that the skin color determines it.
How does the Tulsa Race Massacre not fall under your definition of CRT?
I answered it. That's my answer. And again, I feel like
the Tulsa Race Massacre was a race massacre. How does it not fall under CRT?
I'll answer your question. I do appreciate you. Very respectful.
The 100 years of silence was about race. How does that not fall? How does that fall under CRT?
I appreciate your question.
We was aroused by the parents, what was going on, all the shooting and killing and fires and airplanes, people screaming, people lying on the streets bleeding.
In the lawsuit, her attorney argues that the destruction of Black homes and public executions of Black people were allowed by authorities, and that those authorities can now be sued under a state public nuisance law. They're suing for a victims' compensation fund that could potentially mean hundreds of millions of dollars.
Now, the lawsuit was subsequently dismissed on July 11, 2023, on the grounds, and I quote, simply being connected to a historical event does not provide a person with unlimited rights to seek compensation from any project in any way related to that historical event. Okay, so what they're saying in very plain English, even if you were there and you suffered losses, your family suffered losses, you're not entitled to seek compensation from the city. Um, and that's why the entire notion of reparations, as it relates to African Americans in this country, I don't know if it's a starter or not. I know that there have been some attempts at it in California for the discrimination that they have acknowledged in that state. Uh, but as a whole, if you take something like the Tulsa Race Massacre and those plaintiffs are able to sue, what about all the others that happened during Red Summer? And these are race riots that destroyed several towns. And I'm talking about the Knoxville riot, the Elaine, Arkansas riot, the Jenkins County riot here in Georgia, the Chicago race riot, the Washington race riot, the Perry massacre, the Rosewood massacre, and on and on and on. There was Oscarville that happened here in Georgia. Before that, it was the Camp Logan riot, the East St. Louis riot. Let's talk about the internment of Japanese American citizens who lost all of their properties, coming up on 100 years pretty soon, and how they were interned for almost a decade or more than a decade. So you would have to answer for that. And America just simply doesn't have the stomach for that. There were financial losses occurred by these race riots. And this is why it is so important to keep these matters front and center. Um, I find it that no, he wasn't misquoted. He just said something that didn't pass the smells test, and as a result, here we are. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and yeah, this is an interesting one because it goes right to the heart of why Black investments matter. Um, the things that were built in the past, in particular, the Tulsa Race Riot. It was an opportunity for the Oklahoma school system to talk about O.W. Gurley, was one of the founders of that town, how it was actually accomplished, that this bastion or the safe space was carved out in the middle of Oklahoma for Black residents to do their own shopping, take care of their own neighborhoods, and what happened to that project based off of, well, according to Ryan Walters, it wasn't based off of your race, just something that happened, and it was a terrible mistake. That's his answer. Leave your comments below, and we'll talk about it.